Guys, 30 minutes are done. The preparation time is over. Please turn on your cameras.
Yes, let's start, everyone. We're already quite delayed. Yes, please do turn on your cameras so I can, have a look when you guys speak.
It seems that Arika and Krishita are here. What about Mihika and Dia? Okay, so it seems that everyone is here. Let's start, shall we? Hi, I'm Dia and I will be the debate monitor and Sir Nitesh will be your judge. I will now repeat a few rules and the debate that you probably already know by now. The speaker order will be the first speaker is from the affirmative team, and from then on it's alternating. Each speaker gets no more than 3 minutes and must be respectful to the judges and the opponent team while giving rebuttals. A speaker cannot be interrupted. The speaker must provide authentic data and must source a site when they are providing data, and the camera of all team members must be switched on throughout. 1 minute will be given between each speaker to make sure they have rebuttals ready. Sir Nitesh won't be able to give you feedback even if you ask him to do so. I guess all of you know our topics. So 3 minutes will start now. Who's the speaker one from the affirmative team?
I'm speaker one.
3, 2, 1, start.
My name is Kashita, and I'm arguing for the affirmative side. In today's world, we have many developing third world countries that have been contributed the least amount of carbon emissions, but unfortunately will be the ones that pay the biggest price regarding the effects of climate change. According to BBC, China, the US, the European Union, and many other countries remain at the top of the world's top 10 greenhouse emitters. I believe that countries responsible for all greenhouse gases to date that will be the ones that pay the price. As stated by the Global Carbon Project emission directed by Stanford University, Africa contributes just over 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide. Though Africa produces the least amount of carbon dioxide, the continent itself is prone to climate changing disastrous risks such as extreme flooding, droughts, and storms. That's like you breaking a vase and saying that your sister did it. In our world, we're taught that our actions have consequences. With that being said, countries that have produced the most carbon should be the ones paying the price for having it removed from our atmosphere.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's all.
The opponent team has 1 minute to prepare their rebuttal. Start.
So can I speak if I'm done with my points?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So yes, although China, okay. Although China is kind of considered one of the most emitting countries, and according to the Climate Action Tracker, an independent scientific analysis that tracks the government climate action, China's NDC rating is highly insufficient. But net emissions alone are not enough to blame China for climate change. If you look at only one number, you're only getting one side of the story. To get more insight, it's worth looking at carbon dioxide emissions per capita. When combining 2019 data from Global Carbon Project and our world in data, numerous states from the Caribbean and the Persian Gulf top the list. In 14th place is the US, just over 16 tons of CO2 per capita. and China emits less than half of that, tallying 7.1 tons, putting the country in 48th place. So yes, there are a lot of countries that if you just go on Google and check which countries emit the most CO2, China would pop up the most, pop up the first. But if we go more detail, if we like go into more of the statistics, then you'll realize it's not really the scene. Although China has also pledged to peak its emissions by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality, which means that cutting out all carbon emissions from fossil fuels, but still allowing farm emissions of methane, another planet, and gases, right, by 2060. So United States and China are committed to cooperating with each other and with countries to tackle the climate crisis and discuss concrete actions to reduce emissions aimed at keeping the Paris Agreement aligned temperature limit within the reach. They have also agreed to help other developing countries finance a switch to low carbon energy. So I think only when, like, in a family, when someone causes trouble or is facing a problem, we don't leave them to face it on their own, right? Similarly, us humans, we are one family, and therefore we should come together and look for solutions together, because in the end, the climate is not only going to affect certain regions, but the whole earth, and it would affect globally, right? Yeah, that's my point.
Okay, affirmative speaker 2, you have 1 minute to prepare a rebuttal. Time starts now.
I'm ready.
Okay, time starts now.
Well, who pays for this climate change is $1 million question. And I feel that climate change will be terrible for both the richer countries and uh, the countries with smaller um, carbon footprints. If fossil fuel emissions continue in their current rate, summer temperature in many countries will be up by 2000, and the trouble due to temperature, as we all know, will be heat stress, tropical distress, like dengue will spread, and water scarcity, of course. I think richer nations can act faster and do more right now, and nations that have more stand to lose more from the climate change, which is why it's in the developed nations' interest to lead the charge in cutting their own emissions while at the same time helping others to do the same. And this is how if we consider ourselves to be a family, this is how we'll help ourselves as well as our other family members in cutting down carbon emission. And hence this paying that will be done now by the biggest emitters will save trillions of dollars by preventing global destruction, displacement, and loss of life that will be caused in the future. That's it.
Opponent team speaker to get ready. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, can I speak?
Time has started.
Go on.
Okay. I think what my fellow debater has mentioned is a sharing of responsibility towards climate change. Some countries have more work than the other. But back to the idea of facing consequences, I believe the first step to this argument is that we should stop blaming and start acting. Much similar to the World War, whoever is to blame, the effects are shown on all of us. We all pay the price regardless, and only together can we fight it. The one thing we must keep in mind is that nature will survive. It is the one force greater than ours. But what we question here is our survival. Do we waste our time blaming it or fixing it up? The very division of society may have been what caused this. When our existence comes to an end, nature is not going to look at who polluted more or who polluted less. It's just going to wipe. And we are a race together. We exploited the world together and may continue to do so. But we still sit here and question who is to blame. The Treaty of Versailles, or the war cause given to Germany for starting the First World War, was our selfishness to point out staying safe in the name of justice. The cost of this was 75 million people's lives. World War II. We cannot afford an internal battle when we have something much larger at stake. Climate change, I strongly believe, cannot be fought by one nation, one continent, because it demands us to unite, to seek novelty. Nobody will blame you for global warming except your own children. Blaming, I think, makes a man feel powerful over his control over nature. I believe instead of blaming countries, we should mark responsibility. Yes, we messed up. But if we're still going to sit here and you watch your other countries die, we're not humans. We're just two-legged animals. Whether we label it or blame it is not the question. But we should ask ourselves, do we waste our time blaming each other for the condition of the world? Who is to blame is not what we should be working on right now. Yeah.
Opponent team speaker to 1 minute to prepare a rebuttal. Start. Opponent team speaker to start.
Is it speaker one?
Speaker 1?
I'm sorry, which speaker
It's-
did you say it was?
It's speaker 3, I think. Artika. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll start. As we all know that carbon is the most harmful and most emitted greenhouse gas in the world, the government has laid a tax on carbon, which is known as carbon tax. So first, let me tell you what is carbon pricing. The phrase put out a price on carbon has now become well known, with momentum growing among countries and business to put a price on carbon pollution as a means of bringing down emissions and drive investment into cleaner options. So, what does it mean to put a price on carbon, on greenhouse gases? And why do many government and business leaders support it? There are several paths government can take to price the carbon, all leading to the same result. They begin to capture what are known as the external cost of carbon emissions, cost that the public pays for in other ways, such as damage to crops and healthcare costs from heat waves and droughts, or to property from flooding and sea level rise, and tie them to their sources through a price on carbon. Compared to other type of instruments, carbon pricing can address the vast heterogeneity of greenhouse gas emitters, thus helping to minimize the cost of pollution control. Therefore, for the fossil fuels that we use pollute the air we breathe, contaminate the water we drink, and unbalance the climate we depend on, we need a price on carbon pollution to protect our health and well-being. And carbon pricing creates an incentive across the economy to shift to lower carbon activities and behavior. I rest my case.
1 minute starts for the opponent team for rebuttal.
I think we're done now because both the speakers have spoken
No, but
from the other side.
One of us has to speak twice
Speak
because our
twice.
member daughter.
Okay, go ahead.
So, may I ask who's speaking again?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, so you have 1 minute and your time starts now.
Yes, so I'll start. So I'm going to talk again about the countries that emit the most CO2 are the countries that are the biggest producers, right? I'm also going to talk about China again. That China began producing significant amounts of CO2 much later when compared to its historical emissions. They weren't really significant till I think China joined the World Trade Organization around 2001. It gave access to the world's market, and that drove their economic boom, particularly focused on producing goods for exports. There was already a climate problem before China came along. So effectively, the countries that produce the most, which are also now blamed for climate change, were not really the problem. There is one another point that plays a role when considering the question of climate change. You could just look around and tell me how many items do you own that bear the label made in China? Items could include your smartphone, cutlery, a plastic chair, or even your laptop. The greenhouse gases emitted during the product's manufacturing are tailed as China's and not the country where you purchase and use it. Statistics on carbon emissions are usually recorded according to the producer principle and not the consumer principle. So this is what maybe we could blame it on globalization, because if you're blaming countries for climate change, then just stop using their products, because that's what is causing climate change indirectly, right? They're setting up more factories and then they're causing pollution. So just stop consuming, and then the whole picture will shift when you take that into account, right? For example, under the consumer principle, the carbon footprint of the US is in 2018 was around 6.3% higher, right? While in Germany, it was 14% more. countries ranked highest under the consumer principle were Malta, Switzerland, and many more. But still, like, we blame countries like China and India. Even India is blamed for a lot of climate changes. So I would like to conclude that when we play the blame game, it's really complicated, because we cannot really blame some few regions exclusively. And even though, like, China right now, Beijing is the largest carbon emitter, and there are more regions that you probably don't even know. People have bought islands and started factories right there. So you can't blame any countries, because that's what, again, we are humans. We are a huge diverse family, and if we have a problem, we should come together and look for solutions. That's it. And yeah, thank you.
You ended right on time. I guess both teams are done now. That was a great job. Please clap for yourselves. That was a good show of debate. You should all be proud of yourselves, and the results for debate 2 will be coming out. The results for debate 2 will be coming out tomorrow, and you will get the results in your inbox. And thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful debate.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
nice
you,
day.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.